Hey, this is Ramon, Channels Alpha 4, and today we will be doing the final part, I think it's the final part, of my revisit of the first 3 chapters of Genesis. And this will be my final supplemental, I hope, of that reread and restudy. And let's just begin. Here's going to be Working Days. It's a long one. Working Days from Hesiod. This is lines 49 through 200. And this is the creation of man and woman and the story of Pandora. Just to be clear, yet again, to remind you guys, I am not saying that this story influenced the Hebrew story, if for no other reason that the Hebrew story actually predates this story. The story was written around 700 BC, and the Genesis story, at least the first 3 chapters, goes back to about 1000 BC. So the Genesis story is older. What I'm saying here is that the terminology and the concepts used in the Greek influences our understanding, because we many times go back to the Greek translation of the Bible as our prime source. So when we're using that terminology and it infiltrates the terminology that's used in modern Bibles, especially Protestant Bibles and evangelical Bibles, you will see Greek terminology that holds completely different meaning for us based on the Greek understanding of these words and the Latin interpretation of these words than it does the original Hebrew that many of these stories would have been written in, or the original Aramaic that the original Gospels would have been spoken in before it reached Greece and became Greek. Okay, now that I've said that, let's begin. Zeus conceals man's food in anger over man's treatment of the gods, just as he was angry at Prometheus for having tricked him on behalf of man. Back then, for that offense, he planned and he hid much needed fire from mankind. But for man's sake, the noble son of Iphitus stole fire from Zeus and hid it in a hollow fennel tube, so that Zeus, whose sport is thunder, did not see. But afterwards Zeus the cloud gatherer said to him in anger, "Son of Iphitus, all so cunning, you have outwitted me this day. But great shall be the calamity that shall fall onto you, yourself, and onto the men on whose behalf you did such a thing." Man. The price they, the men you helped, and the men that shall come, shall pay, will be affliction in which they will delight and embrace, even as their misfortunes from this affliction increase. So Zeus, the father of men and gods, laughed aloud, and then bade renowned Hephaestus to at once mix earth and water, and add to it a human voice and human strength, and to model this beast, this creature, on the immortal goddesses, giving it a maiden's shape. To Athena he ordered to teach her crafts and web weaving. To golden Aphrodite was ordered to give her charms and grace, as well as yearning and obsession. And to the dog killer Hermes he had him give her a bitch's nature and a knave's mind. So he ordered, and all obeyed Lord Zeus, son of Cronos. At once Ambidexter, the lame god, molded clay earth in the likeness of a modest maiden, just as the son of Cronos had designed. It was bright-eyed Athena who dressed and clothed her. The divine graces and the lady temptation known as persuasion put a necklace of gold upon her, and the lovely maned Hours crowned her head with garland flowers. Pallas Athena decked adornment about her body, and Hephaestus did his task, gifting her lies and pretenses and knavishness, just as thundering Zeus had designed. Then the herald of the gods installed for her a voice and gave her speech. It was he who named this woman Pandora. Her name meant all gift, because they who dwelt on Olympus gave her all gifts. Such a calamity to men who eat bread. When he had finished the trap, Zeus sent Hermes, the swift messenger of the gods, to Epimetheus to give her as a gift. Epimetheus did not think about what Prometheus had once told him, to never accept a gift from the Olympian Zeus, but to send it back, lest affliction befall mortal man. Yet he accepted the gift anyway. Such is the bane of things before one realizes the calamity. Before this, the tribes of men once lived on earth free from ills and free from hard toil or heavy sickness, which are deadly to men. For it was woman who took the lid off the jar with her own hands and let out all grim cares upon mankind. Only hope remained there in her secure dwelling, under the rim of the jar, and did not fly out, for the woman put the lid back on the jar just in time, by the will of Zeus the cloud gatherer. But for the rest, countless troubles roam the earth and the sea for men. Now diseases come upon uninvited, day or night silently, and deprive men of their voices when they need them most. Thus no one may escape the will of Zeus. Now, you want to know of the first man, as I have told you, of the origin of women. So I will summarize another tale for you, and I will do so skillfully. Mind that you take it in. About how the gods and mortal men sprang from the same source. First, the immortal gods, whose dwelling place is upon Olympus, made the first race out of gold. These first men lived during the time of Cronus' reign. They lived like gods, with carefree hearts, free from toil and misery. Wretched old age did not affect them, but with legs and arms unchanged, they feasted beyond the reach of good and evil. And when they died, it was as if they had just simply been overcome by sleep, and all good things were theirs and for their reaching. Earth and soil gave up its fruits of its own accord in abundant plenty. They dwelt in ease and peace upon their fields, which were rich in flocks and love. After the earth had covered over this generation, they became spirits. By Zeus' design, of course. And they are kindly spirits, and who deliver mortal men from harm. They roam the earth everywhere they please, protectors of men, bestowers of wealth. Kingly honor is theirs, and it is that which they have received. Then the dwellers of Olympus made a second race, this much inferior to the previous. These were made of silver. It resembled the golden race neither in body nor in spirit. One was a child for 100 years, doomed to stay at his mother's side. An utter simpleton, of course, playing only childish games at home. But after reaching adolescence, and they lived but a short time, mind you, and that they lived in suffering because of their witlessness, for they could not restrain from crime of sin, nor from harming each other. And they would not tend to the gods, nor give sacrifice on the holy altars of the blessed ones, as is right and just for men to do. And as has been passed down by their various homelands, of course. Then Zeus, son of Cronos, put them away, angry at them because they would not honor the gods who live on Olympus. Since the time the earth covered them over, that generation of men had been called the mortal blessed. For though they be second in rank, they too still have honor. Now, Zeus the father then made a third race, a brazen race, this of bronze, and he made them not like the silver in any way. Out of ash trees he made them, and they were terrible and fierce. They occupied themselves with the works of Ares, and with acts of violence. They ate not bread, but had hearts of adamant, adamantium, unshapen hulks, with great strength and indescribable arms growing from their shoulders and strong bodies. They had bronze armor and bronze houses, and it was with bronze that they labored, as to them was not gifted black iron. Yet these were laid low by their own hands, and they passed to the dank house of Hades, to chill thereof. And they left no name, mighty though they were. Dark death got them, and they left the bright sunlight. After the earth had taken this race too, Zeus, son of Cronos, made yet another, the fourth race of man, to place upon the fruitful earth. This one more noble and righteous than the previous races, a godly race of heroes whom we call demigods, the race before our own, our predecessors on the boundless earth. As for them, ugly war and dreadful fighting destroyed them. Some at seven-gated Thebes, in Cadmean country, for they battled over Oedipus's flock, and others fell after leading ships over the great abyss called the sea to Troy, on account of lovely-haired Helen. Some were consummated to death, but some to Zeus, the Father. He granted life and home apart from mortal men to these select few, and he settled them at the ends of the earth. These still, to this day, dwell untouched lives with carefree hearts on the islands of the blessed ones. They live near deep swirling Oceanus, fortunate heroes for whom the grain-giving earth and soil bears honey-sweet fruit thrice a year. Would that I was born earlier or later, or not one among the fifth race of men. For as these words are first put to speech is the time of the iron race, and these will never cease to toil in misery. Day and night this race is in distress, and never are they free from the gods' troubles. Nevertheless has far-seeing Zeus seen fit to give this fifth generation of men, iron men, good mixed with ill. Yet, even so, Zeus would destroy this race of mortal men too, when they are born having gray hair on their temples. So it is, be it prophecy or curse, when the father is not like his child, nor the child with their fathers, nor guest with host, nor friends with comrades, nor brother to another brother. When that time comes, men will dishonor their parents, children will cease respecting their aging parents, but they will rage at them with bitter or harsh words. Ruffians groan in ignorance of the gods' words, no longer fearing the punishment of the gods, nor will they repay their aged parents for their well-given nurture. They will rule by an iron fist, city sackers. There will be no favor or thanks for the man who keeps his oath, nor for the righteous and just, but rather the prideful, the miscreant, and the criminal will be praised for evil and violence. Strength will make law, and might will make decency, and all reverence for the gods will cease to be. The wicked villain will wound his better. He will speak lies against his better, swear oaths that a lie be truth, that a lie be the truth. Men in their misfortune will be dogged by evil, envy, and hate. Then adios, decency, and nemesis, justice, veiled and draped in white robes, will leave earth to be in the company of the immortals and abandon mankind. Then all that will be left for mortal men is grim woe and sorrow, and there will be no help against evil. And there you go. That is Work and Days, the creation of man and woman. The creation of woman and then man. So, there you go. As you can see, this has heavy influences, especially the ending, on how we interpret a lot of what's in the Bible. And it's really hard to divorce our modern language from the source languages. And our language sources in English is German, yes, but it's also Latin and it's also Greek. And in Spanish, even more so, the Latin. So while all languages have source languages, in America, we're heavily influenced by multiple languages. And when we're looking at these words, it's hard to divest ourselves from the meaning that has been implicated to us by the mythology that surrounds these words. That's why in a lot of ecumenical Bibles, you'll see them use the old Hebrew word, even though there's no direct English translation. They'll just use the Hebrew pronunciation. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why they say Gehenna or why they say Sheol instead of saying hell or Hades, because it's hard for us to separate what we think those words mean from what the original intent of the author was. So, anyway, peace, like, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the supplemental. Next week, we'll get right back with our Bible lessons in a new format, which will be similar to this format, but not as detailed, where I will be going over the relevant lines and I will be reading the passages that are relevant to what I am talking about. So, and I do have a plan for that as well. So, talk to you all next time. Peace.